I could, I would like to call the 2025 Cavendish Town Meeting to order. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Michael Ripley. I'll be a moderator for the meeting. Would everybody please rise and pledge allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Before I give you my official spiel and we go through the whole listing of the articles, we are blessed to have our representatives here with us this afternoon. And we have Bill Hoffman, Mr. Joe Bader, and Mr. Allison Fox, and I will let them decide what they would like to address us, but I want to give them a chance to address us.
Okay, we're team. Here we are.
We're team.
You can use these two.
Sarah, you want to
Do the
Oh, yeah.
On the bottom. They're shut off on the bottom. They always switch.
Brendan, can I just make a request that you stand to the side so that we can also hear you with this work?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Is it on? Is this on? No.
Is this
Okay.
On the bottom.
Is that, I did, the on, oh.
Got to switch it on. Okay.
That,
So if we all back up here, I think we're
that
ready.
instruction thing that got me, so I apologize.
So thank you to moving town meeting to the sunshine. This is great. Town meeting is a wonderful day in which we celebrate our municipal life together. And it is a real pleasure to be with you for town meeting. I love town meetings. And I just found out a fun fact from the Secretary of State who sent us some interesting information about our life together in Vermont. But we rank number 2 in the country in terms of public engagement and attendance at public meetings. I think, of course, it owes large measure to our habit of town meeting. I'm Allison Clarkson. I'm one of your 3 state senators, along with Joe Major and Becca White, who's working today and wasn't able to join us. I serve you as the chair of Senate Economic Development, Housing, and General Affairs, and on Senate Government Operations. This year, we face 3 big challenges. The first and foremost one, actually, is federal. We have, with so much federal uncertainty, a lot of our funding in the state is in jeopardy. A third of our $9 billion state dollars, our budget is $9 billion. A third of that money, $3 billion, is federal money. We've already seen many programs challenged. We do not have the money in Vermont to plug all those holes. We don't think about this because we commingle our monies, but a lot of our transportation money, a lot of our human service money, 3 squares, SNAP, heating assistance, fuel, Department of Labor, 90% funded by federal money. So we face a huge challenge as we face the uncertainty, and to prepare for that as best we can, the Treasurer has put together a task force that is pulled together the administration, the governor's team, and legislative council and joint fiscal office to really review and analyze the vulnerabilities in our state delivery system for in state services. So we are glad that most of the FEMA money has come to us, but not all, and we're hoping the rest of it will come. The second big challenge, of course, is the transformation of our education system. We heard you loud and clear that voters want property tax relief. I'm not sure they also yelled as loudly that they wanted huge education system reform, but in many ways they are codependents. And for us to really get at some of the financing challenges, we also have to look and review our entire education system. We're in the process of that. It's a big, bold plan the governor's put out. Much of it is good. Much of it is not penciling out. We only just got the full 176-page bill last Friday. So we, as you know, only meet for 4.5 months a year. So it's a bit of a challenge. This is, as a result, going to be a multi-year a multi-year endeavor. However, we are committed to property tax relief in the next 2 years. Even if we don't have a new funding formula, we will have property tax relief. So it may not be, anyway, it may not be perfect, but we will have some for the next 2 years, and then we will probably have a new funding system. And then, of course, the third thing we're committed to is our committee work. And all of us serve on different committees. Actually, Gail and I have complementary committees. And in my committee in the morning, the senators serve on 2 committees. And in the House, they have the pleasure of serving on 1. It works well. We get a lot of big, broad strokes done, and the House fills it in with all the details. So we're very grateful to the House for their work. In economic development and housing, we're doing a housing bill that addresses everything from smaller towns being able to create the infrastructure needed to build more housing, to helping our developmentally disabled live in supportive housing. Economic development, we're focused on small business this year and trying to create more resources and technical assistance for our small businesses and legal assistance. And we have some labor issues we're also working on, and a constitutional amendment with the right to organize. And in the afternoon, I serve on Gov Ops, and that is where Gail and I are working on some education issues also, because we're going to have to vote in these new districts. But I'm going to let VL and Mingo, should we go to Joe, and then I'm going to give this to you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Allison. And Allison said a great deal of the overarching things that we're doing in the state. I am the Vice Chair of the Agriculture Committee, as well as a member of the Institutions Committee. Institutions deals with government, buildings, corrections, as well as IT. Specifically in IT, we are working on the data privacy bill. We've heard that from many people in the community that we are worried about our personal information going out and being sold. So we're working on a bill currently with that in institutions. I do want to address education to a certain extent, in particular this community. I know it is a bit contentious, and we have heard that, and we are working with the governor to a certain extent. And whenever you have differing opinions on certain things, it is a fight, and it takes a while to compromise. That is why Allison said it will not come to fruition, whatever state it's going to be in. The financing of it, as well as the structure of it, will not happen in this particular year. But we are working through that. I will say this, there will be some consolidation. Some very tough choices will happen. I don't want to sugarcoat anything. I want to make sure that we tell you the truth and how some things will happen. How those things happen, quite frankly, we don't know. But the number of school districts will diminish considerably. And who will be in those school districts, how that will happen, that is yet to be determined. So I did want to say that above all, because that has been the overarching thing for you through this tenure. So I'm going to pass it over to our young man in the house, and he will tell you what's going on in that box.
Okay, for those of you who don't know me, I'm VL Coffin. I'm your House Rep. I'm going to start right in with the education part. On the back table, there are flyers out there. This came out from the speaker yesterday. They're a survey, that QR code. I encourage every one of you to take one to share with your neighbors. I'm going to leave one here with the select board. I'd like another one posted here at the school. This survey is so that you can address your concerns, you can answer questions on it, and give us feedback in the House. We have a 176-page bill that just came out last Friday, like the Senator said, and we want, in the House, we want your input. We want to hear from you, and this survey is one of the best ways to do it, because individual emails can get lost, they can get, don't have a chance to answer all of them. I'm at the State House until 7 or 8 o'clock at night, answering emails, trying to answer questions. But if we can get this survey out there, because we don't know what that final plan is going to look like, there is going to be consolidation. Like Senator Clarkson said, we sit on a joint committee on Fridays, most Fridays, last couple, and we're trying to figure out the districting, because as part of GovOps, that's what we do. Okay, that's our piece of the pie. So the more input we have from you, the citizens, and Vermont has very engaged citizens, we need to hear from them. There's just so much that goes on, and I'm going to let this go because I will be here through this meeting, because now I get to take this tag off and stop being Representative Coffin and start being Citizen Coffin as we sit through this. All right, but thank you very much. Oh, you have a question?
One of you would send that to me. I'll make sure it goes out and have it from our Facebook sheets.
Will do.
Did you have a question, sir? Sir,
You didn't want to do questions now.
Thank you very much.
thank you. At least you clapped. I was wondering if you were going to throw it.
Thank you all.
Not today. Did you hear that? Not today.
All right. There's a little spiel I read about how we run the meeting today, but before I do that, if you have your books with you and you have something to write with, there's an adjustment we want to make. In the listing of Justice of the Peace, there's a listing of 7 or 8 people there. We left somebody off the list. So if you have a pencil or a pen and want to add to it, there is a Justice of the Peace named Janice Sisson. She's a Republican, and you can add her to the list. It's on page 2. It's the second inside the second page, where it lists all the elected officials. So you can add Miss Janice Sisson, S-I-S-S-O-N. All right. With that being said, some basic reminders about how we govern ourselves at this meeting. Remember, we meet here in a simple assembly. That's as a community, that's a tradition that's older than the state itself. We meet to come together, discuss different points of view and decisions we need to make about our community. As we deliberate, remember to advocate for your position, but not at the expense of somebody else. Let us remember that our neighbors with whom we may disagree with on certain issues are really good people, and we just may disagree or think differently than they do. Let us remember that in the end, caring about each other is much more important than any differences we may have. And as your moderator, I am here to help you accomplish the business that we intend to do. Remember, all the articles are voted on by Australian ballot, which means I will read them, ask if there are any questions. People can ask questions about what's in the budget or what's on whatever particular thing we're discussing at the moment, but we cannot make any amendments, any changes, or take any action until they're voted on Tuesday. If you would like to speak, just please raise your hand and come up to the microphone. If you have mobility issues and would like a microphone brought to you, we will arrange that. Please state your name and speak your mind. If you have a question for another person, you want to ask somebody to clarify something they said, you need to ask through me, please. Since there is a limited number of us, there are 2 things that we've been doing the last couple of years. Robert Rules of Order say that only registered voters can speak, unless we agree that we're going to allow our neighbors who aren't registered voters yet the ability to speak and ask questions. The other one of Robert's Rules of Order says that nobody can speak more than twice on any topic. And again, we have the ability to override both of those. So unless there's any registered voter who wants to say nay, I'm going to suspend both those so that people can speak that are here. Not hearing any objections. Is there anybody here for the first time? welcome. And as we've done in the last several years, I'd like to take a moment of silence for everybody who is not with us this year, that was with us last year. Thank you. All right, so I'll read the articles in the warning, and we can get started. Just have to find the one that has the large font on it. Town meeting warning for Saturday, March 1st, 2025 at 2:00 p.m. The legal voters of the town of Cavendish and the county of Windsor are hereby notified and warned to meet at the Cavendish Town Elementary School or via Zoom on Saturday, March 1st, 2025 at 2:00 p.m. and then at the Parkersville Fire Station at 10 o'clock in the forenoon on Tuesday, the 4th day of March, 2025 to transact the following business. On Tuesday, March 4th, 2025 by Australian ballot, which the polls will be open at 10 and close at 7. Article 1 will be to elect town officers for the ensuing year by Australian ballot. There's a picture of the ballot in the back of the book. Yes? Yes. Does anybody have any questions about article number 1?
Page number.
Second to last page. It's like the inside. So 70 and 71. There are some blanks if anybody wants to volunteer to fill in any of those blanks for us. So write in. Seeing no questions, I'll move on to Article 2. Article 2. See if the town will vote to collect all taxes on real and personal property for which it is statutory taxing authority in installments. Taxes collected by the town are to be paid to the treasurer on August 15th, November 15th, February 15th, and May 15th, with an interest of 1% per month added to any tax principal balances due and not paid by the quarterly due date. Final due date for all tax principal balances is the 15th day of June, after which they shall become delinquent and are subject to an 8% penalty in addition to the interest. If any payment due date falls upon a day that the treasurer's office is not officially open or is closed, payments then due will be accepted without penalty or interest added if received by 4:30 of the next business day. Amounts allocated to the current year taxes under the state's Vermont's Homestead Property Tax Income Sensitivity Program shall be applied to the taxpayer's property tax installments pro rata, with the total adjustment divided equally between all 4 quarters. This is in accordance with 32 VSA 6066, subsection A, subsection F, section 1. And again, this will be voted on Tuesday by Australian ballot. And I've been here 25 years and that hasn't changed. So, does anybody have any questions or discussion they want about that? Sir?
Just a quick one. I got the same book you're working with, and I don't have the slightest idea of what page you're on. Page 9. She answered the question.
All right.
Thank you.
I don't know either. I have it on a piece of paper. I have to get a copy of it and then make the font very large for you to be able to read it. So I don't read from the book anymore.
Mike, I have a question. I'm wondering if, I'm Sarah, I live out on 20 miles. I'm wondering if Diane or someone could explain the income sensitivity portion of property taxes and get an idea of how many of us are beneficiaries of that.
If you would like to go ahead, that's fine, I can do it.
If you give us an explanation, I think we all don't understand that.
It's confidential, so.
Statewide, though, 70% of Vermonters file by income. So if you get a rebate or a tax credit on your tax bill, you have filed by income, and so 70% of Vermonters pay by a property tax by their income, and it is a percent of their income as opposed to of paying on the full penny rate of your property value. And there is one consideration as we look at property tax financing reform. We are looking at everyone paying by what our ability to pay is, which is really our income. But it's much more volatile than our property values. I will give you an example. I have now 3 neighbors who are federal employees who have lost their jobs. That income is it's much more volatile than their property. Their property is still the same value. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, so what you're saying basically is that as it stands now, the state does take into consideration the income of the residents paying property taxes. Because there's a lot of rhetoric right now about how this is a horribly unaffordable place to live and that the Democrats don't care. And I'm trying to understand. I think that the income sensitivity piece, I have received a probate in the past. And so I think that I want to understand that currently as it stands, the legislation way back when it was Act 60, in fact took into account that those of us who live and earn here may not earn the salaries of our second homeowner neighbors and others, and our property taxes often drop below property value as a result of income sensitivity. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes. But it's a little more complicated than that. If you have a house that's over, at the moment, $400,000 in value, you pay the full rate over that. That will be also probably changing this year because we've had such inflation of our property values, which is good and bad. I mean, and Diane, you may want to add something.
Well, I just want to say, your taxes don't drop. You have your gross taxes, and then you get the rebate from the state based on not only your income, but the amount of property taxes you pay. And just because I find a lot of misunderstanding about this, when people move here from out of state for that first year, it's required that you file a homestead declaration as a Vermont tax law. And a lot of people don't realize that, and usually the first year or two they might have their accountant from Connecticut or Massachusetts do their taxes, who also isn't aware of it. But it's an HS 122 homestead declaration. You file with your Vermont state income taxes along with the property tax adjustment. And then they decide at the state level, according to income and taxes, what the percentage is going to be. And when your tax bills get sent out, that gets reduced from the amount you owe. And then the state, they don't actually send the money to the town, they apply it to the amount of education, state education fund taxes that we pay. They deduct it from that.
And just so you know, that's a tax expenditure. It's taxes we don't collect, and it adds up. Last year was about $168 million for us to offer that income sensitivity piece. Because, just like current use is a tax expenditure as well, many Vermonters benefit from that as well.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Any other questions about collecting of taxes? Article number 3. Will the voters adopt the fiscal year 2025-2026 town budget as proposed by the Board of Selectmen in the amount of $2,447,632.29? I believe it starts on page 20. Different number in the book?
It's for the short form. It's this amount. Isn't that what you said?
sorry.
2,484,000.
So let's change that. Will the voters adopt the fiscal year 2025-2026 town budget as proposed by the Board of Selectmen in the amount of $2,450,401?
Says 457 cents.
We round up.
We round up.
Get it, why do we round up?
Just was written or what I'm told. The budget starts on page 20.
Yeah, and that figure is on page 27.
So between 20 and 27 are all the stuff about the budget. Does anybody have any questions about the budget?
That's right on top.
There we go. Trevor Barlow, 20 Mile Stream. I just have a question with everything that's happened with Grevin Field and post-flood, what the status of the rec department is and how that's being run and how we're allocating funds, and whether or not there's an ability to partner with Ludlow more often to boost numbers.
We've been with Ludlow a little bit. Working? So we have gone with Ludlow a few times when we needed to because we just don't tend to have the numbers that we need to even have a team in town. So we were trying to, the first little while, is keep our own teams, and when we needed to, go to Ludlow. It's just happening more and more that we're needing to do that. I have talked with the rec director, and we're going to try to move a little bit away from, not away from, but in addition to the school sports through the rec program, to do more community-based programs so we can, get everybody involved and not just the school-age children. And it's your...
Sarah?
Are there any anticipated potential cuts in things that we get federal grants or state grants that come from federal funding? I'm wondering how that's going to impact our town.
Right now, I don't believe we have anything that's out there. I mean, other than we have a lot of FEMA money that's still owed to us. That has been promised, so we're just still going on the premise that we are getting that money. We've received just over 400,000 out of the 1.9, a little over 1.9 million that we spent after the July flood. And then, but nothing else is really impacted currently.
No road budgets or anything like that? And have you reached out to FEMA to see how the recent decrees and other things are impacting whether or not they will comply and pay with what we are waiting for?
We talked to them. I talk to them quite often still. They're still back and forth with information multiple times a week. That we're still trying to get this done. And I've asked, and there's no indication from them that there's going to be any change in the amount of money that we get.
Do you and the select board have a plan if that does occur? Have you spoken with other towns and other entities that are receiving FEMA funds to develop a plan in the event that we are not reimbursed for the money that we were promised?
Haven't currently, but I know most towns are in the same kind of boat we're in. Some towns have received about half the money, some a third. We're closer to a quarter. It all depends on which projects get pushed through. If they're the more expensive ones, you get a larger chunk of money. But regional-wide, we really haven't discussed that yet.
Can I ask another question, just going back to roads? So there's not, like in the highway, so those of us who live near Flint Failing Road have been begging you, Stewie Smith went to his grave begging for the potholes to be fixed on 20 Mile Street Road. So I'm just, I'm sorry, Flint Failing Road. You can fix 20 Mile Street Road, but on the lower section. But Flint Failing, it would be amazing. So wherever that money comes from, should we have any hope of that ever getting fixed, or should I just send Scott up with the front loader and we'll do it ourselves?
No, we are putting money in the budget now for that type of paving. And it's in this budget as well as $250,000 towards, local paving. The grant that we get from the state for paving is not in jeopardy. We're not due for one of those, I don't believe, until fiscal year 28 will be our next state grant. And I'm not saying Flint Failing's going to wait until 28, but that's when that grant will be available. But this $250,000 that we put in there, we haven't identified and locked down the roads or gone out to bid, obviously, because we don't have a past budget for that. But Flint Failing's pretty high on the list.
If not, I'm going to start filling it with chicken shit. Because we produce a lot of it, so we'll just pack it in there.
Matt Seaton. I guess this is our chance to ask the big questions about money, right?
Microphone,
Easier for everybody to hear.
especially the person taking
Matt Seaton. So yeah, turn on top. Yeah.
Thank you. Matt Seaton. I guess this is our chance to ask questions about money. And so, obviously the budget is some $600,000 more than actuals from last year, right? So, and I know we were just talking about road surfacing, that was an extra $200,000 of that $600,000, which obviously seems a good investment. But I just wondered if the members of the select board would like to, try and explain, where they see the big increases coming in. And I mean, we can all comb through the line items, but it would just be good to have your insights, if any of you had any comments about, what the priorities for increasing spending in this budget were.
Health insurance was one. Increase.
I'm not sure I remember all of them right now, but health insurance was a big one. We put in more money for paving and, some extra, for roads, gravel, things like that. And, so a lot of prices have gone up. So that's been an increase. But I think the budget is only, it's pretty much level from last year, I think. So we tried to keep it as tight as we could. So. And maybe town manager, someone else has.
So, really, the amount that you were talking about that went up last year's budget. We went up a lot. We added quite a bit for paving and some extra for equipment, for town equipment that's aging. This year, we really worked hard, the board did, on putting together a budget looking for the future. So there was the addition of some funding going into for structures. Every 4 years, the town gets a $200,000 structures grant. But some of these structures, or most of them, are in the $400,000 to $600,000 range. And in order to do those projects, we need to start putting money in there now, so in 4 years, we can get those done. And that's also along the lines of sidewalks. We started putting money in for sidewalks. You'll see it in the budget that we put in $50,000 for that, but that doesn't get you a whole lot of sidewalk. But in 3 or 4 years, that would allow us to do a sidewalk project. And keeping that in the budget, it's looking towards the future and building slowly so we can get some of these projects done.
Sorry.
Just a quick question about flood resiliency, and if you're putting aside money for future sidewalk projects, how are we looking at the very high possibility of having more, how are we going to meet that? I know Marlo has worked hard and long on this to if you could just address that for a moment.
So we're currently doing a flood resilience study with Ludlow, Plymouth, and ourselves. This is just getting off the ground, and I believe the first meeting will be March 27th. It will be in Ludlow at the Frank Field. It's 7 o'clock at night. I hope I'm correct with all that. And that's really going to help, identify all the places that we can make improvements with flood. It's not fixing everything, but we need to know where to go first before we, dig right in and fix things. And the other part we have, and we're currently working on getting funding for still, is for Gavel Field. That is still in the process, the lengthy process of getting the grant for that, which could possibly identify that as turning into floodplain restoration, which the big hope is that would drop the flood levels in Proctorsville town and surrounding Tempton South. And I would like to encourage anybody to go to that meeting. We have, that'll be in Ludlow. I wish I had it with me. I believe it's March 27th.
It is. Can I dovetail on that? Maybe this is a good time. So many of you may not be aware that after the floods, FEMA really came and said that we had to form a long-term recovery group, really looking at flood resilience, how to prepare. Obviously, we were dealing with more than any sort of natural disaster we're going to be dealing with, and that includes the towns of Cavendish, Ludlow, Mount Holly, and Plymouth, and I happen to serve on that committee. And as part of that, I handed out to all of you individually our culvert project. Some of you will notice I run Cavendish Vermont Facebook page. You would have seen that we had Dartmouth students here all summer, all spring. We have 750 culverts. Is that right? We only have 4 people in the highway department. This is now a community-town partnership. We're asking you, we are helping you, check your culverts, keep your ditches clean, don't pitch in the ditch, no snow, no leaves, no debris, no trash, no nothing. Keep them clean so the water can flow the way it's supposed to. Make sure your drains are clear, make sure your culverts are clear. Now, some of you have culverts on your property, and that can be problematic. One of the real advantages we have with our long-term recovery group, Black River Action Team is part of that, as is Black River Good Neighbors. We have formed something called culvert crawlers. We just found out that it appears we have funding to train. That is under Black River Action Team, or BRAT. You can't do the work. We can get someone to do that work for you. But we need you to tell us where the problems are. We don't know. We did, what, 250 with the students?
Quite a few.
We did quite a few, and we cleaned. I personally cleaned a lot of culverts this summer. There's still a lot more to be done. We're asking at least twice a year. Think about it on Green Up Day. Get out there, check your culverts, check them on your property, Check them by your house. It doesn't matter if it's a town one, a state one, or yours. We can help you with it, but we can't do it unless we know. Check your drains. If you walk by and you see leaves covering the drains, push them out of the way. If you have a problem with a town culvert or a state culvert, call the town office. They can work with you. I happen to live on 131. I have a problem with the state culvert. Rick knows all about this. But we don't want anybody to fall or slip or have a car accident in front of our house. So we do work at trying to maintain that. So that is number one. The other one, and I'm going to just do this plug here, we have a shelter here in town that is not included in our budget. It is completely run and has been run since we realized after 2011 we had to have a shelter that could be opened on a dime, and we can. We had to do things, and Abe single-handedly went out and raised the money to put in a generator. We used the school in Irene. We had no generator. We were fortunate it was summer. But we had to get out of here after a week. We ran the shelter for 2 solid weeks in 2023. When we closed our last store, served our last meal, we literally had 1 day before we flipped it, and the Mennonites came in. They were here for the better part of 2 months, different crews coming in from different parts of the country. They all were housed there. Many in this room who had flood damage benefited from the Mennonites. They also benefited from the Southern Baptist. This is a really incredible program. I've worked on Irene, I've worked a lot of disasters since then, but also this particular one. Thank God we were in a church. The donations we received from other churches that came to our aid was amazing because, well, let's just say there is a reason that a film was made about our town after this flood that's called The Forgotten. And there's a reason for that. And some of you might want to speak to that or maybe not. So one of the things we are working on is to develop a Vermont disaster relief fund. The first bits of money that were raised go to make sure that the Cavendish Baptist Church can always keep the lights on, keep the generator going, keep the elevator working. I would ask you all to give generously today. They've got their donation jar here. Please give generously. You can't lay this all on one person. Everybody in this town benefits from that shelter. We all need to support it, and it's not supported by town taxes. So please give generously today. We will get more information out about their culvert program. Everybody has a copy. Please read it. Please utilize it. If you have questions, call me. We do know that we are going to be adversely impacted by the changes that are happening in the federal government, but that doesn't mean it has to impact us in a negative way in times when the chips are down for us. It never has. We've always stood with each other. We'll do so, and we will continue to do so. We just want to organize it a little better. And the last piece I want to make from having worked in these shelters is when the fire departments come to your door and say you have to go, we really want you to leave. Don't be a dumbass, get out. They're putting their lives on the line, and I can tell you, we did have people that came in and said, I'm going back. That now doubles the problem. They don't know you're back. We might not have time to call them and say, we know this homeowner is back there. We don't want to lose any lives here. We don't want anyone injured. So please, listen to your firefighters. They're bound to have way more information on what's going on than you do.
Thank you, Marla. Any other questions or comments concerning the budget? Then I'll move on to Article number 4. Article number 4. Shall the voters of the town of Cavendish fix the yearly salary of the select board at $700 and $900 for the chairman? Questions or comments about that? All right, seeing none, I'll move on to Article number 5. Shall the voters of the town of Cavendish appropriate the sum of $2,500 to the Okemo Valley Technical Rescue to support their operations? Mr. Marks, you want to fill us in on that? Whichever you prefer.
My name is Chris Marks. I live on 20 Mile Street. Fire Department. Been on the department for 20 years and also the town fireman. I'm here today representing Okemo Valley Technical Rescue. We're an organization, 501c3, that's 1 year old. We formed last February with the express purpose of helping emergency service departments in our area to be prepared for catastrophic flooding. Thank you for the segue, Mario. Currently, neither we, nor Ludlow, nor Mount Holly, nor Plymouth, nor Ludlow Ambulance are trained or equipped to respond to flooding. We do so, we respond to your calls, but we do so without training and we do so without the proper equipment. To properly train and equip a technical rescue team costs roughly $100,000. That's not something that any of these departments or towns are capable of doing right now. So we formed Okemo Valley Technical Rescue as basically a group that can facilitate money, logistics, and steering to these local area departments so that collectively, collaboratively, we can be able to respond to flooding, as well as other emergencies that we could now face as a public safety issue like active shooters. But first and foremost on our list is swift water rescue. So we formed this board with leadership from Proctorsville Fire, Ludlow Ambulance, Mount Holly Fire, and Plymouth Fire. And over the last year, like I said, we've incorporated as a 501c3. We've secured over $20,000 in private donations. We've written a FEMA grant for $71,000, which we're hoping to hear about very soon. So we're very close to that $100,000 mark to get a technical rescue team off the ground. We've also decided as a board that we're going to ask each of the 4 towns, Ludlow, Cavendish, Mount Holly, and Plymouth, for $2,500 to participate in preparing us for these emergencies. So ideally we were going to do this through appropriations, but again, like I said, we're only 12 months old. We've accomplished quite a bit in 12 months, so we missed that November 1st deadline to bring this up in appropriations. So the select board was nice enough to allow me to speak here on this topic today and to ask you for your support in $2,500 from the town towards our budget. So that's what I'm here to talk about. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and if this sounds like a worthwhile endeavor, please share this information with your neighbors so that they can be informed voters on Tuesday. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions or comments about that? Sir? I think you're a little too close there.
Close to the speaker.
That was a good sound you made.
All good. Trevor Barlow again. Just, I guess maybe a question for Chris is, how is this group being coordinated with all the other local safety services? And is it going to be housed, or the equipment going to be under the fire departments, or where's the stuff located?
Mr. Moderator, point of order. Could you please ask speakers to rise
Service.
when they address them?
Thanks, Trevor. So we are currently, this is all kind of working on our bylaws, but one of the things, to your point, is with the purchase of equipment, where will that be housed and maintained? So where we find a critical mass of rescue technicians, like currently right now it looks like Proctorsville Fire will be putting probably 9 people through this training. So for example, swift water suits would probably be housed at Proctorsville Fire. And again, as we write our bylaws and guidelines, we're going to talk about the responsibilities of that department that's holding the equipment as far as maintenance, etc. Ben Whalen, Chief Ben Whalen in Ludlow, has been involved in technical rescue in Chester for probably close to a decade. And he has memos of understanding with the state Task Force 1, and they hold some of the state's equipment. So he's pretty well versed in this kind of concept of shared equipment, shared resources, shared manpower. And so he's a critical part of our Okemo Valley Technical Commission Board, and he's advising us on kind of the writing of all these guidelines and bylaws. Hope that answers your question.
Said I wasn't gonna bother too much. Wow. All right, I don't know how to get away from that, but anyway. I'm just gonna use my last year. One thing I do want to say on this, we heard testimony on this last week in House Government Ops, which is an act related to creating the municipal response recovery special fund, which again, you mentioned task force one, that's all part of it, since they're looking for funding to try to get more emergency response vehicles, get more training for people. That's something we may want to talk about and take a look at online, look at that bill, see everything that's included in it. Part of what we're trying to do is get several place locations where we can stage emergency response equipment for people like this, for our first responders. Some of the things I didn't think about, but they're asking for that are important. Factor trucks. Factor truck is a giant shop vac on wheels, 2,500 gallons. Suck out basements quickly. Suck out culverts, clean out things. So that is in the works at the State House, and it's one of the bills that were introduced in my committee.
Just this microphone in the front.
Yeah, we might have that one.
Can we just use the microphone in the front? Is that really what it's set up for?
Thanks, Ed.
It's clearer, you can hear better.
Any other questions about the budget? Or sorry, about the rescue squad? Sharon?
I just want to say thank you for doing that, and thank you for all of you to the fire department. You guys are well worth it. I'll vote yes.
It'll be well worth it in 100 years when we have one of the 100-year floods. Yeah. All right, seeing nothing else, we'll move on to Article number 6. Shall the voters of the town of Cavendish appropriate the sum of $500 to the Windsor County Youth Services to support their operations? Questions, comments?
Yeah. I just want to point out that this was, they missed the November 1st deadline for this on the appropriations as well.
So there are several organizations in the budget that meet a requirement by a certain date that the select board appropriates money for. And Windsor County Youth Services is usually one of them, they just happen to miss the deadline this year. There's even no other questions, comments, or concerns about that. There should be an article number 7 on your list, and there isn't, but that's usually where we go to other business. So if anybody has any other business that they would like to address the body with, this is the time that we do that. And we do have several groups here this year that would like to address the body, and these are organizations that benefit the town in various ways. So I'm going to let people from this speak, or anybody ask any questions that's pertinent to the town and the business we're conducting here today. Martha.
I want to face the crowd if I stand here.
Can we give her a mic that's not going to kill everybody?
Mic that's not going to kill everybody. Hello, my name is Martha Mott, and I'm here to let you know about the Cavendish Streetscapes program. Volunteer, thank you. A little history on Cavendish Streetscapes. In 2018, a group of volunteers got together with a vision to beautify the towns with flags, flowers, and holiday decorations. 7 years later, we continue with the mission of volunteers beautifying the community. So when you see those flags out there, it's not the town that pays for it, it's the volunteers and the people in the town. So thanks to the donations of many of you in town, as well as the support of CCCA and the Cavendish Community Fund, we have accomplished the following. We clean and maintain gardens by Cavendish Town Elementary School, the Proctorsville Green, and Civet Park. We purchased and maintain boxes on the Proctorsville Bridge and Cavendish Post Office. We plant spring flowers on the bridge and on the green, summer flowers on the green, on the gazebo, the post office, the bridge, Cavendish Town Elementary School, and now the Historical Society. We do fall decorations on the bridge, on the green, at the school, and the post office. And winter decorations on the green in collaboration with Ludlow Women's Club and Ludlow Electric, which help with the big tree and the gazebo lights. The winter decorations on the bridge we do and at Cavendish Town Elementary School and at the Cavendish Post Office. The flags fly high from Memorial Day to Veterans Day, thanks to the help of the Cavendish and Proctorsville Fire Departments. We could not do it without them. They hang those flags and then they take them down. We purchase and care for the flags and then they do all the hanging. Seating is installed in the gazebo. We put new benches in the Proctorsville and Cavendish Green. So those nice new benches there, we did that with the help of Cavendish Community Fund. We trimmed the trees on the green. We cleaned and painted the bike rack on the green. And to raise money for these projects, we have our annual Birds in Bloom sale, which this year will be held on June 21st. And many thanks to those who help with the sale, whether by their artistic abilities, donations of time, money, and hands-on help, and morale. And thanks to that Proctorsville Fire Department for doing the barbecue at the event. A big thank you to all who donated and offers to help when the Proctorsville Bridge boxes were destroyed. We had some vandalism, and a couple of the boxes were tossed and busted into the river, the frozen river. So we truly appreciate your support. The boxes will be replaced this spring thanks to your generous donations. Doggone it. Here's what we're asking for, volunteers. We still need help with spring cleanup in the parks, with watering and weeding in the summer, with marketing and other miscellaneous tasks. If you're interested, you can contact CavendishStreetscapes@gmail.com. We do in the back have a beautiful display. Catherine Savek made that pretty poster of everything that we're doing. We have a donation box. We have a list of things that we do, and business cards too. If you want to get involved, we'd love to have you. You can sign up there. Or you can speak with Cavendish volunteers. On the planning committee, you may know Rolf Van Schaik, Bruce McEnany, Doris Eddy, Julia Janu, Lisa Ewald, Carolyn Solzhenitsyn, Mary Ormrod, Mary Watkins, Shirley Clark, Sandy Burgess, Catherine Savek, or me, Martha Mott. You can talk to any of us. We'd be happy to talk to you. Now, I thought about this. Shall I name everybody? I'm going to leave somebody out, but there are so many people who have helped out with this, whether little or big. So I'm sorry if I left you out, and I decided I am going to read this list because as I was typing it out, I realized how many people actually have helped in one way or another. If I forgot you, please raise your hand and beat me up or something. So Terry McNamara, Don Terrell, Herb Eddy, Carol Van Schaik, Tim Mott, Paul Janou, Steve Ewald. We get our husbands involved, whether they want to or not. Roxy and Al Davis, Peggy Savek, Karen and Jared Wilson, Martha Benoit, there you are, I told you I'd say your name here. Tim Calabrese, Andrew Levin, Barbara Dickey, Sharon Slattery, Scott Piper, Denise Gebro from DG Bodyworks, Craig and Jess Goodman, Goodman's American Pie, Julie Wood, Golden Stage Inn, Anna Zimmer, Village Clipper, Margot Caulfield, Robin Timko, Peter LaBelle, Sarah Stoll, Kelly Gadju, Josh Temple, Maureen and Justin Savage, all the Cavendish and Proctorsville Fire Departments, thank you so much. CCCA, Cavendish Community Fund, Singleton Store, Grafton Cheese, Town Office, Diane McNamara, Jen Lee, Rick Chambers, Brendan McNamara, CTES staff, Jen Harper, Tracy Churchill, Ellen Cameron, I'm almost done. Pang and ATN Ting, Laura and Murdoch's crew, second homeowners, and everyone who participates in Birds and Blooms. Thank you all very much for helping to beautify our town of Cavendish and our village of Proctorsville. And we welcome new worker bees. Everyone helps. Money donation box. So please, come to our fundraiser, Birds and Blooms, on June 21st. And in closing, I say, please enjoy the flags, the flowers, the holiday decorations, the benches, the lights, and the clean parks. like our Facebook page, and smile, honk, and wave if you see us out working to beautify the community. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, I would just like to speak on behalf of the Select Board and the Town of Cavendish. Recognize one of our board members that has put in many years of countless hours dedicated to this board and the town. I believe it's 20 some odd years.
Talking to me?
Yeah, for all the work he's done in the past, and we'd just like to thank George Dimko.
It's been a pleasure. I mean, it's a great town. I wouldn't live anywhere else. And, I'm glad there's people who still want to get involved, and I hope more people will in the future, especially the younger ones. And I'm looking forward to sitting out there so I can bitch and moan. Thank you.
As long as white. This is on. Yeah, you can hear me all right. I guess the first thing I want to say is how amazing it is to have so many organizations, so many groups in our town working for the good of everybody. It's just so impressive how many people have involved themselves. And I'm here to speak on behalf of the Cavendish Community Conservation Association. And for those of you who don't know, we're an umbrella group, and we try to foster different, or help people get their ideas going, their dreams to get a jump start, and we also have ongoing activities that we continue to engage in. In the back of the room, there's a table, on a table. There's a survey that we created to try to get a better feeling for some of the activities and things that people in the town would like to have. So if you can take a moment of time and grab a survey and fill it out, we would appreciate it. I think we can also get that at our website. Is it on our website? As well. So that's there. What did I want to say?
Survey loop.
What?
It's on survey.
It's on survey. Thank you, Marco. It's on survey. See, I need help from everybody. I really do. There's also a sign-up sheet there if you would like us to email you when an activity that we're going to be doing comes up. So if we have a walk and talk, for example, we're going to have a bird. Audubon Society is coming end of March to do a bird presentation here in the school. There'll be a bird walk in May, and there'll be a walk with a geologist into the Cavendish Gorge to study what that is like, how that was formed. That's also coming up in the spring, and then there'll be more things going, mushroom foraging in the fall. We're still accepting photos for the 2026 calendar, which I think it marks our 25th year, I can't remember, but it may be our last year. So if you would like to participate, there's still time. We have the current photographs that have been submitted. They're hanging now in the library. And it's just beautiful. I'm going to miss not doing it if I don't do it, because I just love seeing the photographs people take of our surrounding landscape and its creatures. Sometimes a human being or two, you never know. And the last thing I wanted to say was I just want to reiterate how important what Margot's handed out is. It really is, and we'll be teaming up. Our association is teaming up with the rec department from the town to sponsor Green Up Day. So you'll be seeing more information about that, but it really depends on everybody participating in in the community to make a beautiful, clean, and safe place along with this. I'm just pitching this one more time. I just think that's so important. I think that's everything. That's everything. Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to bring something up or address the crowd? Sir? It's on, just hold it up closer. I swear it's on.
Hi, my name is Gabriel Still. I attend Cavendish Baptist Church. I'm here to tell you about my church and the money we are raising for. You may have seen the building by either passing it, attended a memorial for a neighbor, or helped out at our shelter when the flood happened. The current building was built, been added on, and maintained by the congregation since 1878. Our church is more than a building. It's a place where all people are welcome. As a church, we believe and try to live as Jesus. We believe we have been blessed by past generations to help bless the current and future generations. And that's why we are glad to offer hospitality to any who need it. The community raised and donated proceeds to our church shelter and entrusted us to help those affected by the 2023 flood. We thank all of you for that. We did not believe and still believe it's right to put that money aside for a rainy day fund. Specific funds were generously donated to repair the elevator by the Black River Good Neighbor to ensure the shelter be accessible to all. We know some of you aren't sure about coming to worship with us on Sunday, and that is okay. And we are not here for that purpose. Our church members are holding fundraisers as an opportunity to help ensure our shelter will always be there and ready when our community needs it. Just like our church worked with everyone and helped anyone who needed it during the flood, we can all come together to help the community. Our church members also helped the people in Plainfield, Vermont when they got flooded. We have a fundraising goal to help keep the lights on or fill an emergency generator. Always keep the shelter open when it's cold, hot, or wet. We know there'll be a lot of yard sales and nachos. So we pray that every time we hold a fundraiser, that God will put it on your heart to remember our shelter. I ask that you may say a small private prayer for our town, community, and shelter. We are not anxious because God has always provided. Mr. Snyder likes to say, God has already given us enough money. It's just still in our wallets. Thank you.
Offer some things for Cavendish residents as well. So Create Together at Pleasure Farm is just a new name for the Pleasure Farm School for the Arts and Crafts, formerly, and was the parent organization was the Society for Vermont Artists and Craftsmen. So we've gone through this whole strategic planning process with generous donations from people in the community, so we thank you for that. And going forward, we're hoping to be a place that fosters more community and offers things for our locals rather than just people vacationing here and coming for a week. I know that it's hard for local people often to take a week off in the summer and take an intensive course. So we're hoping to offer things that entice you to come in on a weekend, maybe a weeknight, once a week for 6 weeks or so. We're going to try some different formats and some new disciplines. And so if you have some ideas for different classes you'd like to see, or if you have a class that you might like to teach yourself, if you consider yourself an artist, we're looking to engage with more local people and local artists. And we also are not really associated. We are supported by the Fletcher Farm Foundation, but we do not benefit from the same endowment that they do. So we would appreciate your donations with this to put this endeavor forward, and we hope to see you on campus. We'll have an open house on March 13th from 4 to 7 p.m. We hope to see you all there. You can try your hand at something new, get to know our staff, and have a refreshment. I'm Catherine Speck. I'm the secretary of the board at Create Together Fletcher Farm and an executive assistant.
All right, seeing nobody else or nothing else, please remember there's all that information in the back, and some of the survey stuff, and I will call the meeting to a close.